Okay, welcome to my channel. So in this channel, we talk a lot of things about coming to school in Canada. So today I'm going to be talking about pre-departure plan, especially this period of COVID. So what do you do? How do you navigate your way around, coming to school in Canada? So at this stage, let's assume your visa, your study permit has been approved, and then you're trying to think about what do I need to do, what documents do I need to put in order, before I actually come to Canada. The very first thing I would suggest you to do is to really find out from number one, your university and also the Canadian government, because rules are always changing. Every week, every month, the rules are changing in terms of how or who can enter Canada. So I would suggest go through your university website and see there's going to be a section where they will say arriving in Canada. So there they will state all of the things you need to do in order to arrive successfully in Canada. And also with the government of Canada website, they also have a couple of things. But as of today, what I know is if your visa has been approved, there is an app called Arrive Can CAN you download. So that is where you are going to put in your departure plan, your quarantine plan, your study permit approval details and everything. I think you might need to show that in your local airport. I'm not quite sure, depends on where you're coming from. But when you also arrive in Canada, they might also request to see that Arrive Can app, and then just to make sure that you fill in all of the necessary requirements and everything. And then the next thing is to kind of gather all your documents together, right? For example, you need to have your acceptance letter. You need to have your proof of study permit approval. They don't give you study permit online, so they give you the letter of introduction. That is what you are going to give to the border or the immigration services people so that they can issue you study permit. You need to have that documents ready. You need to have just your own personal documents like your certificates, your transcripts, all of those documents, your driver's license if you have them. You just make sure you get all of those documents ready because you're going to need them when you travel to Canada. And then of course your visa with a passport and all that, and then I remember when I came in, they just asked me about, so when I arrived in Canada, they can ask you a couple of questions just to interview you, like, oh, which school did you get admission for? Okay, when are you resuming classes? They might ask, they might not ask, depends, right? So even though you're coming to Canada on a work permit, is all the same process and procedure. You need to get all your work, approval and proof of employment and everything already. Okay, so after all of these documents are ready, you need to really have the quarantine plan in place. So there are different options that are available. There are some schools that offer quarantine plan. You have to pay some money, then they give you food in the morning, afternoon, evening, as the case may be. It's already set in terms of a proper place for isolation and all that, quarantine. So the universities might offer that. It's up to you. If you want to sign up for that, fine. But if you don't want to sign up for that, you can also make your own plans as well. So you can look for hotels around in the province. It has to be, you have to quarantine in the province where you're going to, right? So let's say if you're going to Edmonton is your university, then you have to move from Toronto to Edmonton, and then when you get there, then you have to quarantine. Okay, so quarantine facilities usually for now is 2 weeks. So when all of these COVID situations are over, then I don't think you might need Arrive Can or quarantine plan again, because so when I did, there was no Arrive Can. It just started up with this COVID matter and all that. So get all your quarantine plan in place. And then if you want to, if you can, I would also suggest make plan for temporary accommodation. when you finish your quarantine, this is the place you are going to go right after your quarantine. It is important. So for me, what I did then was I booked the school residence with the university. When I was coming for my master's, I booked the school residence, and then so when I just came from the airport, I just moved straight to my residence. So my key was already with the check-in. I just checked in, I got my key, and then entered my room straight, right? And then when I started my PhD, I asked a friend of mine to help. I checked a couple of rooms on Kijiji, on Facebook Market, and then there are also some websites you can check as well, depends on the province. And then you can, if you have a friend there, if you know anybody, you can ask them to help you check, the place. If you don't have anybody, you can book Airbnb. You can just take the risk and pay for like a 1 month accommodation, so that when you arrive here, you just stay there temporarily, and then when you come, you can now make plans on where you want to stay, long term. Okay, gather all of these documents together, and then these days they might also require you to do what they call the Covit test, maybe like at no more than 72 hours or so before your departure time. So if they require it, check with the airline, and then check with the airline mostly to make sure that if they still require that, you have to get that done, even though you are vaccinated. In fact, vaccination is kind of compulsory now if you plan to come to Canada, except I don't know if they say accept vaccination exempt. So you have to check that very well to make sure that your exemption to get vaccination is really a very strong reason, not just a made-up thing, because they're very intelligent people, smart, and they really know what they're doing. So it has to be something, maybe medical reason, health reason, as the case may be. Gather your documents and then book a flight. Okay, book your flight, and then when you're booking a flight, make sure you book flight to the city where the landing should, the final destination to be in the city where your university is. For example, if you're coming to the University of Alberta and you are coming from, let's say, Nigeria, then you book from Lagos to Edmonton, right? If you are coming from South Africa, from Johannesburg, then Johannesburg to Edmonton, right? If you're coming from Madrid to Edmonton, as the case may be, then you book a flight, and then, if you want to get some. So another thing, depends on the season, right? If it's in a winter season, let's say between October, November, December, January, February, March, April, something like that, those are winter period. I would suggest check the weather of the province that you are going to. Check the date you are going to land. Check the weather. If it's like -10 or -20 or -15, then you need to make sure you have a winter jacket. So buy a winter jacket in your hometown before you arrive, because you don't want to arrive and enter winter without insider cold and then start looking for winter jacket inside of that cold. At least have something that can sustain you. And then when you come here, you can now look at, okay, I want to buy a better winter jacket, as the case may be. If it's a summer, good for you. Summertime, springtime is really nice weather. You don't need to worry about winter jacket. Just come the way you are. Okay. So I think I've addressed everything that you need to know in terms of making plans. And of course, if you want to buy some local foods and all that, I bought some food, just to make sure that I don't spend a lot of money, because things are quite expensive when you arrive. So I bought a couple of things, some new clothes, some food stores, that are not prohibited at the airport. So I checked that, and then checked in, and then zoom, all the way to Canada. If it's your first time entry flight, just make sure you ask relevant questions in terms of connecting gates, connecting flight. When you arrive in one city, how do you find your gate? Please ask questions so that you don't end up getting misinformation. For me, I almost missed a flight because I did not ask something when I got to Germany, right? So I would suggest ask questions, and then when you arrive, when you arrive in Canada, the next thing you want to do is to when you get to the border agency, they will require you to present your letter of introduction. They might ask you where is your admission letter, and then they might ask one or two questions. What is your quarantine plan? They want to make sure they get that, and then they sort all of those out, and then they issue you the study permit. So that's where they issue your study permit, and that's not a study permit you take to you take, and then that's your one of the most important documents as an international student. And then you take that document and you move to your quarantine, finish your quarantine, and then go to the university. So I'm going to be talking about the next steps when you arrive. What are some of the first 10 things that you need to do? So watch out for the next video. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, do well to hit the subscribe button. And if this is your first time, you leave a comment, subscribe, drop a comment, and then I will try to answer your question whenever I can. Once again, have a lovely day, and thanks for watching my video.